4 people, 4 hands, and every single one of them is telling the truth. Are you doing that? No. Someone's doing it. I'm not touching it. I swear I'm not. Nobody at that table is pushing. Not deliberately, not secretly. Their fingers are producing real muscular force in a specific direction, and every one of them experiences their own hand as completely passive. And you can test this yourself in the next 90 seconds. Find a ring, put it on a thread, hold it up and hold it still. Now don't move it. Just think about it swinging in a circle. It will. Your hand will feel motionless the entire time. It isn't. A French chemist worked this out in 1833 with a pendulum. It should have ended the seance business overnight, and of course it didn't, because the feeling is far more convincing than the fact. Something you did produced a movement in the world, and the part of you that believes it's in charge was not informed. You arrive home, and you cannot account for the last 11 minutes. Somewhere back there you changed lanes. You made a left turn on a yellow light. You judged the speed of a car you can no longer picture. You did all of that competently with a 2-ton machine surrounded by strangers. And there's no record of it. Nothing went wrong. That's the strange part. It wasn't a lapse. It was 11 minutes of skilled behavior performed to a high standard by you with the lights off upstairs. Here's one you can do at a desk. Type a sentence, any sentence, easy. Now, without moving your hands, which finger types the letter B? Nobody knows. Everybody has to mime it. Grown adults who have typed 40 million words in their lives have to sit there wiggling their fingers in the air like they're conducting. And here's the cruel bit. Now that you've thought about it, your typing will be slightly worse for about 30 seconds. Same with stairs. Nobody has ever fallen down a staircase they weren't thinking about. Ask a musician what their left hand is doing and watch the music stop. Everything you're genuinely good at, you're not there for. Something comes into the road, and the car is already stopping. Your foot is down before there's a picture in your head, before there's a word for what it was, before there is any feeling about it whatsoever. The fear shows up afterwards. Everybody who drives knows this. You stop and then your hands start shaking. Now be careful here, because this is where films about the brain usually start making things up. Nobody can show you the wiring diagram for that moment. It's genuinely difficult to measure, and there's real argument about how it works. But the thing you can say, and the thing you already know, is about the order. You did not have the thought and then act on it. You acted, and the thought came to collect you. And by the time you were telling somebody about it that evening, your memory had quietly put the two back in the sensible order. First I saw, then I decided, then I braked. Because that's the only story a person knows how to tell. A table in a department store. 4 pairs of stockings laid out left to right. Shoppers pick their favorite, and the researchers ask why. And people are wonderful about it. They talk about the weave, the sheen, the elasticity. One woman explains, at some length, that the 3rd pair is superior. The 4 pairs are identical. They came out of the same box that morning. What actually predicted the choice was position. The pair on the right was chosen far more often than the pair on the left, and nobody, not one person, mentioned position. When the researchers asked directly whether the order might have influenced them, people looked at them as though they'd asked whether the moon had. 2 photographs. Which face do you find more attractive? You point. The researcher slides your choice across the table, and by sleight of hand, gives you the other one, the one you just rejected, 4 seconds ago. Then, tell me why you picked this one. Most of the time, in the moment, people don't catch it. In the original study, the swap was called out on around 1 trial in 8. And the rest of the time, they don't stall, they don't squint, they don't say, hang on. They explain, comfortably, in detail. She's got a lovely smile. I've always liked dark hair. She looks like someone I'd get on with. About a face they had, 4 seconds earlier, refused. Now, the honest footnote, and it makes this better rather than worse. The researchers were the first to say it. If you'd told people in advance that a card might get switched and asked them to watch for it, most of them would have caught it instantly. So this isn't proof that people are idiots, and it isn't proof that nobody knows their own mind. It's something narrower and stranger. When you're not specifically checking, which is nearly always, the reason arrives so smoothly that it doesn't occur to you to ask where it came from. In the 1960s, a small number of people had surgery to stop seizures that were destroying their lives. The operation separated the two halves of the brain, and it worked. They went home. They drove, they worked, they were funny, they were themselves. They also let researchers do something that had never been possible before: send a message to one half of a person. Flash the word walk, where only the right hemisphere can see it, the half that can't speak. And the man stands up and heads for the door. Now ask him where he's going. The half of his brain that does the talking, the half that has answered every question anyone has ever asked him, did not see that word. It has no idea why the body is moving. And without a flicker, "I'm going to get a Coke." He isn't covering. He isn't embarrassed. He isn't lying. And this matters. A lie requires knowing the truth. He believes it. The researcher who spent his career on this called that part of the brain the interpreter. Its job is to produce an account of what the person is doing. It doesn't have access to the causes. It has never once said, "I don't know." Split brain research has its own arguments now about what these operations really separate and what they don't. But nobody argues about the answer. He said Coke. And the reason you're uneasy right now isn't the surgery. It's that you recognize the voice. The interview lasted 40 minutes. And you've had the feeling, walking back to your desk, that you knew in the corridor. Now careful, nobody can put a stopwatch on that, and anyone who tells you a job is decided in the first 7 seconds has made the number up. But there's a real thing underneath it, and it's been studied properly. Once an impression forms, it starts steering the questions. The candidate you warm to gets asked the easy ones, the ones that let them shine. The candidate you didn't gets the ones that confirm it. You are still gathering evidence. You are gathering it for something, which is worse than deciding early. Deciding early is a mistake you might catch. This one produces 40 minutes of documentation. Here's the experiment. A face on a screen for 1/10 of a second. Then, is this person trustworthy, competent, likable? People object. They say it's impossible, that it isn't enough, that they'd need to hear the person speak. Then they answer anyway. Now give a second group the same faces with no time limit at all. Look as long as you want, all day if you like, same answers. Across every trait tested, trustworthiness, competence, likability, attractiveness, aggressiveness, extra time did not meaningfully change the judgment. What it changed was confidence. So the next time you spend an hour carefully forming a view of somebody, ask yourself honestly whether you were deciding or building a case. And one more thing, which is the most important sentence in this scene. Fast does not mean right. These judgments are quick, and people agree with each other about them, and they are frequently, confidently wrong. There are people walking around being trusted less than they deserve for reasons that have nothing to do with anything they've ever done. That happens in 1/10 of a second, and it happens in you, and it will happen today. 4 decks of cards. 2 of them are rigged to lose. Nobody's told which. And something interesting happens in the body. Long before people can explain anything, sensors pick up a small stress response as their hand goes toward the bad decks. For years, this got told as a beautiful story. Your body knows before you do. Then somebody went back and asked better questions. The original researchers had asked people, every 10 cards, to say what was going on. Broad, open questions. And people mostly said they weren't sure. So a second team asked more precisely, which deck do you think is worse? How confident are you? What's your best guess? And it turned out people knew much more than anyone had realized. In fact, and this is the finding that changes the meaning of the whole thing, they could report the good strategy more reliably than they actually played it. The two teams have never fully agreed, and the argument is still open. But look at what the second result actually says. They knew, and they kept reaching for the bad deck anyway, which is not a story about mysterious bodily wisdom. It's a story about something much more familiar and much less comfortable. Knowing a thing and doing a thing are not the same machine. 1983, a laboratory in San Francisco. A man in a chair, wires on his scalp, watching a clock with a dot going around it much faster than a second hand. The instruction is almost childishly simple. Move your finger whenever you feel like it. No cue, no signal, no reason. Whenever the urge takes you. And then, tell us where the dot was at the exact instant you decided. That's the whole experiment. It fits in a sentence, it cost almost nothing, and it has been arguing with philosophy for 40 years. The brain signal came first. There's a slow buildup of electrical activity before a voluntary movement, and it started roughly a third of a second before people said they'd made up their minds. The signal, then the decision, then the finger. Later, with scanners, other groups reported activity that could predict which of two buttons someone would press several seconds ahead of them knowing. Barely above chance, closer to a coin flip with a slight bias than to mind reading, but there. For 40 years, this has been the most quoted result in the argument about free will. You have probably heard some version of it. It usually arrives in the form, "Science has proved you're not in charge." Hold that feeling for 8 minutes, because it does not survive this film. A man in his 60s is diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. His neurologist, a good one, doing everything right, prescribes a medication that's used all over the world, every day, and it works. It gives him his mornings back. He can hold a cup. He can do up a button. Hold on to that for the next 4 minutes. Nobody in this story did anything wrong. He starts going to the casino. Then he starts going every day. Then he starts lying about where he's been. Then the savings. Then money borrowed against the house. 11 months and a life that took 40 years to build is gone. And he cannot give anybody a coherent account of a single day of it. He is 68 years old. Until that year, he had never gambled. Not once. Not a lottery ticket, not a raffle, not a pound on a horse in his entire life. Then they changed his medication, and it stopped. Within weeks. Completely. It never came back. This isn't rare, and it isn't a mystery. Certain Parkinson's medications are known to trigger compulsive behavior in a minority of people who take them. Gambling, spending, eating. It's on the label. It's why doctors ask. But sit inside it for a second. Every day of those 11 months, he had reasons. He could have told you why today was different, why this was the last time, why the money would come back. And every one of those reasons was produced by the same machinery that said, "I'm going to get a Coke." His family spent a year believing something about him that wasn't true. He spent a year believing it about himself. And that part doesn't come off when the prescription changes. Now, the honest thing. This does not settle anything philosophical. Nobody has proved anything about free will here. There are still questions about what he could have noticed, and when, and what anyone could reasonably have expected of him. But it does make one thing very difficult to keep believing, that the reasons a person gives you are the reasons. You don't need a prescription for a smaller version of this. The message you had decided firmly at 4 in the afternoon that you would not send. The alarm you set with genuine intent and have never once chosen to switch off. The thing you gave up on Sunday and were holding on Wednesday. And here's what you told yourself afterwards, because everybody does. I'm weak. That isn't what happened, and it also isn't nobody's fault. The person who made the decision on Sunday and the person standing in the kitchen on Wednesday were the same human being in two completely different states. One calm, one not. One with time, one without. One nowhere near the thing, one holding it. You didn't lose an argument with yourself. You sent somebody to that argument who was never going to win it. Now go back to that clock. For decades, everybody read that rising signal as a decision being made in the dark. Recently, a different reading has taken over, and it's much less cinematic. Your brain is never still. There's constant random drift, activity wandering up and down all the time, for no reason, in everybody. Now think about what that experiment actually asks a person to do. Move whenever you feel like it. With no reason to go at any particular moment, you're essentially waiting. And the moment you happen to go is more likely to be a moment when the drift happens to be high. Which means when you take hundreds of those moments, line them all up by the movement, and average them, a rising curve appears. Not because anything decided anything, because that's what averaging does to noise when you line it up by its peaks. Last year, the group leading this reinterpretation published a study finding that the signal doesn't track people's awareness of preparing to move at all. 40 years of the most famous argument in neuroscience may have been an artifact of the maths. And you can feel the relief arriving, can't you? So it was wrong. So I'm free after all. No, a coin isn't free. Something being unpredictable doesn't make it yours. Randomness isn't authorship. If anything, it's the opposite, because nobody has ever taken credit for a dice roll. What actually happened here is that a famous experiment probably measured the wrong thing, which is not the same as the opposite result. The philosophical question is exactly where it was before 1983, which is unresolved, and which no scanner has ever been close to settling, because it isn't the kind of question a scanner can answer. We're back at the start. With one difference, and it's the only thing in this film worth keeping. The man with the clock had a second idea, and almost nobody quotes it, because it's less dramatic than the headline. The impulse turns up without you. Fine. But between an impulse arriving and a body moving, there's a gap. And in that gap, things can be stopped. He called it free won't. It's argued over like everything else in this field, and it's a smaller thing than people want it to be. But every single person watching this has felt it. The hand that started towards something and didn't. Not the author, the editor. Nobody has ever won a fight against an impulse at 1 in the morning. That fight is very close to unwinnable, and almost everybody watching this has lost it repeatedly and concluded there's something wrong with them. But that impulse arrived in a room, and somebody chose the room. This is the part that's been studied properly, and it's the most useful thing in this documentary. When researchers look at people who actually manage long-term goals, the ones who look, from outside, like they have enormous willpower, something strange shows up. Put them in a laboratory test of pure resistance, and they're not better at it. Their scores are ordinary. What's different is that they report facing fewer temptations in the first place. They're not winning the fight. They've arranged not to have it. The bottle that isn't in the house, the route home that doesn't pass the place, the phone charging in the kitchen, the friend you told on purpose so that lying would cost something. Every one of those decisions was made by somebody calm, with time, who was nowhere near the thing. You're not the one making the decision at 1 in the morning. You're the one who built the room it gets made in. And that version of you has never once been in a hurry. A German philosopher got to the edge of all this with a pen, no laboratory, and no equipment whatsoever. A man can do what he wants, but he cannot want what he wants. 1839. It took the rest of us another 180 years and several £100 million of scanning equipment to arrive back at his sentence, and we still can't get past it. Which changes something, and it isn't the philosophy. It's the tone of voice. The man with the prescription. The friend you quietly decided was weak. The thing you've been calling a character flaw since you were 19 and have never once managed to fix by being harder on yourself. None of this is an excuse. Nobody has been let off anything. The bottle still has to leave the house, and somebody still has to carry it out, and that somebody is you. But it's a much better set of instructions. Because if the people who look like they have iron will are mostly just people who arranged to face fewer fights, then the thing you've been calling willpower was mostly a scheduling problem. And scheduling problems are solvable. Character, as far as anyone has ever been able to tell, is not. Tomorrow you'll make thousands of decisions and be present for almost none of them. You'll like somebody in the first second and spend the afternoon assembling reasons. You'll reach for your phone before you've decided to. You'll drive somewhere and arrive with no record of the journey. You'll give somebody a completely sincere explanation for something you did, and you will have no way of knowing whether it's true, and neither will they. And then, once, maybe twice, you'll catch one. A hand halfway to something, a sentence halfway out of your mouth, and you'll stop. That's not much. It's also, as far as anybody has ever been able to demonstrate, the whole of what we've got. Nobody at that table was pushing, and it still spelled something.